I'm Diana Macedo. We have breaking news. Former President Trump has entered a plea of not guilty and waived his right to appear at his arraignment. That's according to a filing this morning in Fulton County. Trump and 18 other defendants are charged with conspiring to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Trump had been scheduled to be arraigned in person on Wednesday. And this comes as we learn that Republican Georgia Governor Brian Kemp will not call a special session to investigate the prosecutor in the case, Fani Willis, after Republican State Senator Colton Moore had called for an emergency session to review her actions. I want to bring in senior reporter Catherine Falders and ABC News legal contributor Kim Whaley for more on this. Catherine, why waive that right to an in-person arraignment? And could we see other defendants do the same?
Right. We have seen other defendants already waive their right. We were getting a sense that the former president might do this as well. I don't think that he necessarily wants to make another trip down to Georgia. That's a lot of it here. And look, if you can just, you see the court document right there, the papers of the not guilty plea. And if you can just enter it in court papers, then there is no real use, his lawyers believe, and so does he, in showing up down there. So he's obviously pleaded not guilty to the 13 felony counts in this indictment. He's waived his right to appear, so we will not be seeing him down there next Wednesday.
Kim, in terms of strategy, why not do this? If you don't feel like showing up and making the trip and going through the hassle, why do you show up? Is there a downside to doing this?
Well, first of all, is some jurisdictions it's not an option. So in Manhattan, for example, he had to show up, but in Georgia, this waiver is a possibility. The reason to go to an arraignment is to have the government list in a court the charges against you and to have the judge read you your constitutional rights, including the right to have counsel. Here we have a sophisticated defendant who now is in his fourth arraignment and very good counsel. So the sort of the protections or the formalities and constitutional implications really don't apply to Donald Trump, although the publicity on the other side might be something he personally would prefer, but a good lawyer, I think, would not want to see that either, frankly, and keep it just to the judicial system and not have this play out in politics.
Catherine, Governor Kemp now says he won't call a special session to investigate DA Fani Willis, saying he doesn't or hasn't seen evidence, at least, to warrant that. So what does that mean going forward?
Well, look, it means that as of this point, he's not going to listen. Governor Kemp isn't going to listen to those far-right members of his party who have called him to call a special session and investigate her. As you said, he says obviously he will not do this. He hasn't seen any evidence that essentially he should launch this in a way, and that's just what he's going to do moving forward. I think it's worth pointing out that even though he hasn't seen any evidence, that the governor has said that he has taken issue with the probe in terms of the timing of when it was announced, but again, hasn't seen any evidence to formally call a special session. He says that it wouldn't even be constitutional.
Kim, what happens next now that we're not going to see former President Trump appear in court for his arraignment?
As we've seen in the other three criminal cases, the next step is for the government to turn over to Donald Trump's lawyers some of the evidence that was presented to the grand jury. So that would include witness transcripts, people that appeared before the grand jury, notes of law enforcement, any other documentary evidence. And there's also an obligation the other direction. But I think the big piece will be motions. Donald Trump's lawyers have indicated that they plan to file, and I expect it to be in all four cases, but including in Georgia, sweeping motions relating to Donald Trump's purported immunity as president from any criminal process. I think that's going to be a big one. The notion being that he was acting as president and you have leeway to make mistakes as president, and this was within his official capacity, therefore there can be no liability. I think that proves too much. There can't be, it can't be okay to commit crimes under the auspices of the White House. And then we'll see other things relating to evidence, relating to the First Amendment potentially. Then we could have a change of a plea, because a plea is basically just saying not guilty. Listen, government, I'm going to make you prove your charges against me. I doubt Donald Trump would switch his plea. We might see some of the other co-defendants switch their pleas, which could change the stakes for Donald Trump and for the government if there are people that are willing to testify testify against him that have knowledge that would be damaging to the president's case. And then we would have a trial. So it's a long process. It's going to be complicated because he is a former president. And this is really unprecedented under the Constitution. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like this goes to the United States Supreme Court even before the trial. Normally, you have to wait to the very end. There's something called an interlocutory appeal that allows really important issues to go all the way up on appeal. And here, when you're talking about setting a precedent for the office of the presidency, I think we could see unelected members of the judicial branch, that is, people in robes on the Supreme Court who cannot be held accountable, deciding some of these important issues for the rest of us.
All right, Catherine Faulders, Kim Whaley, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.